Green Party's Mothin Ali calls on Lamy to help Palestine hunger strikers. Ali became the first politician to visit the activists who have been on hunger strike more than 30 days. And I'm really pleased that Mothin Ali is actually on the call. How how are you doing, Mothin? You all right?
Hi, Crispin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I was very. I found that really emotional watching the message from the hunger striker there. It must have been difficult for you to see these people in the state they were in.
It was really, really emotional having to sit and watch someone who's visibly frail, visibly weak. Um, Amu was so my visit was to visit Amu, but Jon Cink was in the same room. Wasn't We weren't allowed to visit John, but he was in the same room visiting someone else. So I saw John from a distance. Uh, and and John actually looked like what I'd describe as a skeleton. He's down to 52 kgs, I think. Um, and my mum's in her 80s, and I saw John walking, and he was walking much slower than my mum would walk. And that was really hard. Just watching them was hard. I can't imagine what they're actually going through. And listening to some of the stories that was being told. For the first 10 days, the prison wouldn't acknowledge that they were on hunger strike. Um, so if they acknowledge that they're on hunger strike, there's certain measures that the prison has to take, and the prison refused to do that because they wouldn't acknowledge the fact. Um, After that, they started receiving a bit more medical care and a bit more regular GP attention appointments. But there's one girl, her name is Kesa Zohra, and I hear of the stories that she has to go through, right the way from male prison guards entering the cell unannounced without body cam on. So what's going on in that cell, no one knows because they're entering without the body cam on, and it's unannounced. And then disrespecting her prayer mat, disrespecting her Quran, putting it in the sink or on the floor, those kind of things that are happening. So it's all that mental torment that's going on. Um, Anne was suffering from a lot of pain in her joints, in her knees particularly. So she was sat with her knees crossed on the chair, and one of the prison guards, right in the middle of our conversation while we're having our visitation, one of the prison guards walked over. You need to stop. You can't sit with your knees crossed. And we've got the rules list of what you're allowed to do and not do on the, it's on the table in front of you. You can't touch, you can't pass anything, you can't hold, embrace, or all these kind of things. And nowhere on that list is anything about sitting with your knees crossed. So we asked, where does it say on the on the list? Oh, it doesn't. But I'm telling you to put your knees down. It's just that added level of showing that the guards have power over the prisoners, and to call them prisoners as well, it's they are political prisoners. They're being held without trial for a crime they're not convicted of. They're being held for allegedly taking political action to stop a genocide. So how the government is still not classing them as political prisoners is beyond me. Um, it's just so we can maintain our reputation that Britain doesn't hold political prisoners, but we do, and we do it all the time.
Mm.
And this is one of it's some of those political prisoners are held off in faraway distant lands. They don't happen here. It's a fib that we tell ourselves to make us feel better, but it's not. We're doing it. We're holding people for political reasons, for taking political action, and this is not the sign of a healthy democracy.
No, I mean I'm appalled. What appalls me is the media not covering it at all, really. And that you're the only politician to have visited them. I know that Jeremy Corbyn's put a statement out, and there's been some sort of vote in Parliament. Can you tell us about that, or this, or I'm not sure what it is, some sort of petition in Parliament?
So getting access to the prisoners wasn't easy, first and foremost. I'm still on the approval list for the prisoners for at Wakefield. So both applications were put through at the same time, and it took close to 3 weeks to get approved to go and visit. So it's not for the want of trying that I didn't get down there earlier. Um, but once, yeah, just getting that approval is a long process, providing passports, providing uh, all sorts of details, personal details, getting referenced and checked beforehand. Um, when I finally got the opportunity, the first one that came through, that's the one I jumped at. Um, but I think there's an early day motion going forward, and a number of politicians have signed the early day motion, and hopefully that'll raise a bit more awareness. And it is a disgrace that more media outlets aren't covering it because this is the biggest hunger strike since the Irish hunger strikers,
Yeah.
and we can't just the society can't just close its eyes to it. It can't just bury its head in the sand and hope that it's going to go away, because we've seen two people who are already hospitalized. Um, the situation with Kessel was even, uh, I think it's just her youth that's keeping her still standing. Otherwise, she's on the brink of hospitalization. Um, that's the other story that I heard. Her GP was saying that she needed to go into hospital, but the nursing staff at the prison were not allowing it.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
just that um, added level. But it is a real tragedy that our media are not more open and talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, the media didn't cover the Elbit systems story that they're supplying weapons. The media then didn't cover the story of the prisoners being held unfairly in the way you're describing. The media are not reporting the hunger strike. It's like they just aren't covering anything on this at all. Um, well, I'm just appalled at where we are. It's only a few fringe media are covering it, but I did notice that some US big accounts in on Twitter have started tweeting it, and maybe if we can embarrass this country with other countries tweeting it and other media from other countries, that might be a way forward. What do you think?
I think I saw Rashida Tlaib from America. She's one of the American senators. She tweeted it. She tweeted about it yesterday, and I think
Yeah,
that's really powerful. I think that's a really important strategy. I mean, one good thing is that with social media, it's democratized our ability to get our stories across. So yeah, no, organizations like Navarro have covered it, Canary, Middle East Eye. But the more we keep the pressure on, the more we share those stories. Uh, there was I saw the confrontation of David Lammy yesterday, and David Lammy just says he didn't know anything about it, and I really find that hard to believe. You know, if you're the Home Secretary, if you're the Justice Secretary, you know what's going on. If you're in cabinet, you know that the biggest hunger strike since '81. That is key information that's being fed back to them. Um, I mean, my visit was covered quite a bit. It got a lot of views. Politicians would have taken notice. Those in the government would have known about it. Um, and when they're denying that they don't even know about it, I find that really hard to believe. So we've got to keep pushing this story. We've got to keep talking about it, and we've got to make sure that any contacts that we have or any influence that we have, we're using that to the maximum ability to make sure the plight of these prisoners is talked about and they're not forgotten.
yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and also really appreciate that you went to the prison. And I didn't know it had taken you that long to get permission to go. That's something else that I hadn't understood. So we can't all just ask to visit someone until they've checked us for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, it's not straightforward. Um, my visiting request for Wakefield is still under review. I mean, apparently the Wakefield prison works on a paper-based system, so everything takes a lot longer. Whereas this prison is high tech, and it still took over close to 3 weeks to get me approval. Um, but yeah, it just they do the background checks, they do everything else just to make sure that you're allowed to go and visit. And even my visit was treated like a visit for anyone else, just a friend visiting a friend rather than an official visit. Because if it was an official visit, they would have had to treat it with more security, and they would have had to give it more publicity as well. It would have made more had a bigger impact. But the fact that we talked about it, and the fact that a few media outlets spoke about it straight after, I think that had a really positive way of getting this out into the media. And this conversation with David Lammy that the family had yesterday, I think that's going to be another thing to highlight it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's absolutely ridiculous. He says he doesn't know anything about it. That
mm,
either shows him up as incompetent or as dishonest. It's one or he's got a choice. Um, but thank you very much for coming on, and I know we'll have to speak again in more happy sort of circumstances. But I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Mothin.
no, thanks for having me, and thanks everyone else. I hope you're okay with the story. It's not an easy thing to listen to. Um, one thing I would like to mention, if you give me a couple more
Yeah,
minutes, is the strength of these prisoners was the thing that really inspired me. Do you know, I for the first sort of 10 minutes, I was holding back my tears. Um, but the strength that Amu had, and she was almost encouraging me um, to to stay positive, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. So these are salt of the earth, really decent people. Um, yeah, so thank you.
thanks.